You have one on stage. Yeah.
Okay, hi. My name is Ben Enosh. On behalf of the PlyMedia team, I'd like to thank you for the honor to get the chance to present here. Let's take a moment to share with you a few facts. 99% of online websites produce 3% of the online advertisement. I'll repeat it again. 99% of websites, which we call the 99%ers, also called the long tail, collect less than 3% of the online advertisement. Of the $55 billion a year invested in advertisement, only $1.6 billion get to those 99% of the online websites. We have a fundamental belief in PlyMedia that publishers should enjoy or pursue the ability to receive income and enjoy top technology when it's offered to them. What's happening here is clearly not the case. So 2 years ago, we embarked on a journey to say, we embarked on a path to rectify that. Let's take a look at the audience value. Let's take a look at the food chain of the advertisement world for these small publishers. On the right side, you see the dollar amount coming from the advertiser. On the very right side here, you see that the publishers receive less than a dime. And in the middle, there are a lot of intermediates that take a big chunk of their of the money. 2 million websites suffer from this market failure. Anyone who has read Christian Clayton's book, The Innovator's Dilemma, would recognize a disruptive potential here immediately. And that's exactly what we've been doing. We've produced actually a platform that enables publishers to enjoy what the big players have enjoyed until now. The big players means the Yahoos, the CNNs of the world. And it's called an SSP. It's a fully automated, intelligent video ad advertisement platform using big data technology, machine learning, and smart algorithms. We want to do to the SSP market what Salesforce has done to the CRM market, bring to the masses a high-end solution. And to make it totally disruptive, we're actually providing it for free. If it's free, you'll probably ask, how do we make money? Well, as the company before us, we actually produce on the other side an exchange that enables these publishers to sell their inventory in that exchange, which the inventory itself is aggregated in high resolution of audience targeting from behavior through gender, income, interest, and so on. We make their traffic so much more valuable that they make between 100 to 1,000% more on that inventory. And from that piece, we obviously do some revenue generating. So after our participation, the chain looks as following. What actually is taking place is that a lot of hands are in the middle, are taking out. And of course, the financial benefit of it, we enjoy it as well. So a typical face of a publisher. This is Armin. Armin is 22 years old. He's from Canada, produces about 500,000 impressions per month, generates about $600. We increased his income by more than 200%. Like Armin, there are, as I said, 2 million publishers around the world, generating between $100 and $10,000 per month on income. In 2011, $27 billion were generated on the back of publishers like him. That's a huge market. I'll just go over some of the case studies that we've seen. There are a few of the sites that we work with. If you see on the mark on the left, on the circle there, we produce between 147% increase to 1,000% increase on the intake of these publishers. If you take a look at the breakdown through geographies, the x-axis is the audience coming to these websites, and on the y-axis, you see the percentage of growth of income to these companies. Purple bars show before we arrived, blue lines is after we arrived on the geography level. And of course, as always, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We launched January 10th, January 2010. It took us 22 months to reach 1 billion impressions. It took us another month to reach 1.5 billion impressions. Another month, a month after that, we've reached already 3 billion impressions. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that that's a tipping point. If we look at the profitability side, as this graph affirms, of course, we see a phenomenal growth on the revenue side as well. Starting in January 2010, we had more than 10,000% growth on the revenue, and obviously profitability came late 2010, beginning of 2011. Projections. We plan to reach 40,000 publishers by the end of 2014. That generates about 2.4 billion ad impressions during that year. That's more than $100 million in revenue. Sure.
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So I'll summarize really fast. I said at the beginning, or I showed actually, that we are the 99%. Let me explain for just a second. I was blessed to have these two remarkable people as partners and as co-founders at PlyMedia, David Markowitz and Yoni Silberberg. Both are immigrants. One of them is from the US, the other is from Australia. Gave up incredible jobs on Wall Street and as world designers and made Aliyah. They left everything in order to begin once again from scratch. They have outlined a beacon for us, supporting those 99% with small publishers, of the small publishers that are powerless and unable to compete fairly with the big guys. If anybody understands lack of any social mobility, it's these two. That's pretty much it. Yet again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. My contact information is in up front. Feel free to call me. Cheers.
Let's start in the middle. James.
Sure. Congratulations to that fantastic growth and reaching profitability. I'll ask a question I asked earlier to another company. What do you think the greatest threat to your strategy and your business model is? Because it looks very strong and very promising in the future, but what do you think could be disruptive to your business?
I think that the producing products that are not sticky enough on the operational side of the long-tail publishers would be our biggest threat. If we are not able to get to stick these small ERP systems in all these publishers and have them use it on 100% of the traffic, that would be our biggest challenge.
Okay.
At this point, we don't see any of the big players in the world looking into the international markets but Google, and Google's doing it through the AdSense, and Google has their own capabilities and their own limits when it comes to their taintingness of their brand and so on. So a lot of publishers just can't work with them.
Thanks.
Urs?
Sure. Two questions. The one, what's your explanation for the difference in the geographies that you work so much better for German and Japanese traffic compared to some others?
It's the sources of the advertisers. So if the German market, there's an arbitrage today in the world if you look at it on a global basis, which means an American audience or an American viewer might be worth 100 times more than an Israeli, although their buying power, for instance, might be a ratio of 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 1.5, something of that sort. So when you look at it on a global scale, you see this phenomena happening on an hourly basis in the different exchanges around the world. So if a certain advertisers wants to reach a German audience, you'll get specifically during that period of time, you'll get a higher rate than you'll get for an Indian audience.
Okay. And the second question, you showed the graph that once you're installed, there's only advertiser, agency, and then the publisher with your tools. How do you get the agencies to know about you and put some of the ad dollars they have into you? There are a bunch of platforms which they currently use.
We have two layers of entities that we work with as sources for advertisement. One of them is we're hooked up to about 100 entities around the world, exchanges and platform, DSPs of the world, if you know. Yeah. And then there's a layer of the agencies themselves that work with us. The reason why they work with us is because we're so much cheaper for the same type of audience. For instance, if you buy an effective CPM on CNN that would cost you $60 CPM, and you could I could promise you a certain type of audience that you could reach on a different type of site, on a gaming site, for instance, and you can get it for half the price or a third of the price, then it starts to become very lucrative for you. So the agencies themselves contact us. We never needed to market. We don't have any business development units that have to go to these agencies. So we work today with WPP, with Publicis, with Karat, around the world with their agencies.
But the trade-off you mentioned is not the trade-off that the agency has. The agency will always use a chunk of the ad dollars on high-quality sites. That's the one they put in the charts for the client to show, this is where I put your brand, and then they'll use a big chunk on exchanges and ad networks and so on. So I mean, the comparison is not necessarily. I understand why they don't want to pay $60 for an audience versus like 10 or 20 or something like that. But why should they use you versus some of the other ad platforms? I mean, there's now. I mean, we all, I guess, know the Luma chart of the industry of the ad, and there's so many ways now of
first of all, we're just so much cheaper than anything else that exists out there. We're cheaper because we work in a much higher scale, cloud-wise. We're cheaper than UpNexus or any of the other sources that are out there as SSPs. The SSPs today are mainly focused. If you look at it, you dive deep into the numbers, you'll notice that they're working with the top 1,000, the top 3,000 network sites in the world. We work on the other side of the spectrum. We work with the very small publishers. And as you said, out of the 55 billion, obviously, there's going to be left a portion that belongs to the premium. And there's still $27 billion left there that is on the long tail side.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Ben,
Yes.
The common sense in investments in companies going after long tail is usually that it's really tough, especially for a young company. Mm-hmm. It's hard to bring the long tail customers, collect from them, keep them on board so they don't churn, etc., etc. What's the secret sauce that brought you to where you're now and will keep you there going forward?
It's the products themselves. What we're doing is we're giving them for free, and think of it as a small ERP system for that small site. And he doesn't have to work through us. He doesn't have to make money through us. Not necessarily do we make any money through them. What we do get through that process is we get loyalty on the one hand, and we get access to all their viewage. So we get to put the tag on all their viewage. Once we have that, it's the basis for a platform of a relationship. And as always, you start building a relationship with these 2 million publishers around the world, then opportunities appear as time goes by. So for instance, we've already seen the bigger publishers, within the small world, the bigger publishers that want to get more, want to work with more websites, automatically need to pay those websites, so they need a financial systems. How do they clear up the money? How do they pay somebody that's located in a different place in the world? So suddenly you have to have a financial system that enables them to pay thousands of customers. So we have that types of systems. How do you build the security issues? There's a lot of fraud. How do you protect fraud? So we've produced a hub for anti-fraud. So once you've targeted that clientele and you recognize that it's a big market, you could start building tiers and layers of extra services on top of that. By the way, the cost of acquisition on our side is $74 an average of a publisher, which generates at least $253 per month.
So I'd like to go back to the fundamentals for a second. Yes. You started with an impressive observation, which is 99% of the internet websites or online presences attract less than 3% of the ad revenue that is out there. Now, part of this is fundamentals, and part of this is just market inefficiencies, which you are probably addressing. And by fundamentals, I mean they're probably attracting less than 3% of ad revenue because they are irrelevant or less important or less interesting for online buyers, content readers, people who do searches, what have you. And this is something that you are not going to change. I couldn't care less about a website in, say, South Germany offering a pair of interesting shoes to a South Germany customer. Right. That will not change, even if you are in the game. And the question is, do you feel that you are limited by this ceiling, or is there still enough room for your business to grow just because you solve that very significant inefficiencies for businesses that are still relevant to a certain number of online surfers, buyers, and so on?
Tough question.
You're getting scores for the answers.
Let me think for a minute.
11 seconds.
6.
You know what? I probably need a few minutes to think about it. I can't throw. I've never given it enough thought.
You have now given me a very bad score, so my apologies.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. No, Ben, stay on stage. Stay on stage. Thank you. Well, no, stay. I'll call you guys back to the stage. Owen, Ziv, and Irad. You judges have a few minutes until they get on stage to complete your scoring at the bottom of the page. And we shall proceed.